Hi guys, and welcome to another Divi theme video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. We've got a little hover effect for you today. We've got 3 images there. When you hover over one of them, a button's going to drop in. And obviously you can hover over it and take your visitors wherever you want with a link. It doesn't matter where you hover over, it's going to pop down. Really easy to do. We've just done this with the Elementor page builder, and somebody asked if we could do it with Divi, and it's actually a lot easier with Divi. We've got to use one line of CSS code, which is really simple. Don't let that put you off though. Any code I write I'll put below the video and you can copy and paste it. So let's get started. I'm going to enable the visual builder so we can build on the front end. Okay, once enabled, let's go down and I'll add a new row, the green button, just below our original there. I'll use 3 columns as that's what we've got above. Now for the button, I'm actually going to use a call to action module rather than a button module, purely because we can manipulate it easier with movement. Divi as standard comes with all these modules, plenty enough to build just about any site. If you're selling products and you've got WooCommerce installed, it'll give you an extra dozen as well to help display your products. So let's grab our little call to action module. And I really don't want a title. The button can say whatever you want it to say right there. I'm going to leave mine as click here. And I really don't want any content. Now you can see the background there, but you don't see a button. Before the button's actually going to show up, we have to put a link in for it. So I've gone down to link, still on the content tab. I'm just going to put a hashtag in here in place of a URL because I haven't got a real one obviously. You'd want to put your URL in there. Best practice. If you're linking to your own site, leave it in the same window. If you're linking off-site to somebody else's site, open it in a new tab so your site stays open. Okay, and as you can see now we've done that. Let's move this out of the way slightly. We've got a button up here there. Okay, well, as with most hover effects that we've been doing lately, the image that we're actually looking at there resides in the column rather than the back of the actual module itself. So let's go into the column and we'll add our image. But before I add the image, I'm going to take this background away, which will make the button disappear because it'll be white on white. You won't be able to see it. I'll take the background away so we can actually see the image that we're putting behind. So I'm going to go into background and just hit the little trash can to get rid of that default color. Okay, well, let's go in and put in our image now. And our image is going to go in our row. So let's save our call to action settings there. We'll go back into the row. It's in our first column there. Go into the column. Background, what do we want? We don't want an image. You've got color, gradient, image, or video. I'm going to add an image. Choose whatever image you want. Pop it in there. And there it is. And it's the size of it is actually dictated by the size and height of the module, the call to action module that we put in there. So this is where the coding part comes in. What I want to do with this row is actually give it a fixed height so that it doesn't change when our button zooms in. And we can see as much or a little of the actual image as we want. So for this, I'm going to go over to the Advanced tab, going to go down to Custom CSS, and simply in the main element, I'm going to write height, colon, and I think I used 400 pixels for the ones above. I'll continue that theme. And as you can see, it's actually put that column to be 400 pixels at all times, so it's going to show that amount of the image, which works for me. Just put a little semicolon on the end of that code there, and I'll just put this below the video for anybody that needs to copy and paste it. And that is all the coding involved in this today. Everything else we can do with the onboard features of Divi. Great, so we've got our little picture there. And we want our button to disappear out the top here, and when we hover over, it's got to roll back into around the central area somewhere. So as we're popping our button up over here, we don't want to see it once it's outside of our column. So to make sure we don't see it, still in the Advanced tab, I'm going to close up the Custom CSS. I'm going to go down to Visibility, Horizontal and Vertical Overflow. I'm going to change both of those to Hidden. That way Anything that overflows or falls outside of our column here from within the column will not be seen. So when our button goes up there, you won't be able to see it. Great, so we're done with our column. Let's go and take care of our button. We'll go back into this module. Okay, well the first thing I really want to do is change that button color just so it stands out a bit more against that photo. So over in design, I'm going to go down to button. I'm going to use custom styles for the button. Text size is fine, text color is fine. I do want to give it a background though. I'm going to use a purple right here. Yep, that stands out absolutely perfectly. I'm not going to use a button border, so I'm just going to take that from 2 pixels down to 0, which will take it away. And I want to set a hover state for that actual button so it changes color when they hover over it. Common to most Divi modules, if you hover over the dark legending or the dark writing up there, some icons will appear. If there's an arrow, click on the arrow and it'll let you set a desktop state for when your mouse is not on it, and a hover state obviously when your mouse pointer is on it. So when they hover over it, I'm just going to have it blue. Great. Okay, well we want to push it up out of the way so we can't see it initially, and then when we hover over it wants to come back around the middle somewhere. So we can do that with spacing. So we're still on the design tab. Let's close up this button here and we'll go down to spacing. Now we're going to move it up out of the way, so I'm going to give it a negative margin on the top which will pull it upwards. I'm going to give it maybe 300 pixels so it's up here somewhere. So I'm going to use the little arrow there to increment down to a minus value, or you can just type it in if you prefer. And I'm going to go minus 300 and it should disappear. Yep, disappeared because it's now actually up here. But because we said overflow hidden, you can't see it. Now to be able to trigger it to come back down, we need to give it some padding on the bottom so it's actually covering, the bottom is covering this but we can't see the button. But we need something to cover this to use as a trigger to pull the button back down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a bit of padding on the bottom, a lot, say 500 pixels or so. In fact, if I take that away and I give it a background again so you can see exactly what's going on, I'm sure you understand, but there's some that probably won't know what's going on. So let's give it a background that we can see. I'll give it a purple background for the time being. And remember, it's up here so we can't see it. But if I go back to our spacing now and put that padding on the bottom, you'll see it stretched by 500 pixels. So I'll say 500. And now you see that purple bit stretched down. So give it a little bit more than that. Let's make it 600 so it goes all the way. Well, let's add some to the top. There we go. Now we're covering the whole thing. Our button's probably right about here. I'll take that color away. Now you can see what's going on. Okay, now when we hover over this, we want the button to come down here. So all we need to do is change the actual margin at the top. And we'll change it from 300 to 0. But we only want that on the hover state. That's a little too much actually. It's a little too far down. So you can either adjust the padding or negative the margin to say, let's say minus 50, and that should pop it up just a little bit. But remember, we only want this on the hover state. So let's put it back to how it was, minus 300. Hit the little dark writing. There's our arrow. We'll set the hover state. And we said negative 50, didn't we? Negative 50. That's more like it. That's around about the middle. Now the time it actually takes to go from non-hover to hover state is almost instant with Divi. It's actually 300 milliseconds, which is just under a third of a second. For me, that's a bit quick. I like to slow it down for a bit of drama. And to do that, go over to your Advanced tab, go down to Transitions, and here we've got the duration. I'm going to change mine from the default 300 to about 3/4 of a second, sort of 700 mils, something like that. Don't want any delay, want it to happen as soon as they put their mouse over it. And the speed curve I like to use for these things is ease in out. That way when you take your mouse off, it'll ease back out again. So it's going to take 750 to drop down from here to here. 3/4 of a second, no delay, and it's going to ease back up when we let go. So if we've done everything correctly, we should be good to go today. So let's save our changes, save the page changes, and we'll exit the Visual Builder. And let's go on down. There's our little image. When we hover over, there's our little button. And it's sitting a little high up there. You could take that margin away or just adjust that top margin to wherever you want it on the hover state. That's not too bad though. So there you go, guys. There's an image with drop down button on hover. I hope you've enjoyed this today and found it useful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, ring the bell, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Once again, this has been Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.